Hi, and welcome everyone to today's Josefine Meets Alli McAuley. And Alli is my business business bestie that I connected with, I think we're probably like almost for a year now, Alli, give or take something like that, probably. And Alli might have some connection issues because she has lost her internet connection today, but I guess we get to hear about that. And that is really fits with today's topic about how to do what to do when we're not perfect, when nothing is perfect, and why perfect isn't going to work anyway. So my name is Josefine Warner. Hi, Christine. So lovely to have you here. My name is Josefine Warner. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a business coach and mentor who helps mainly coaches to actually set up their profitable business. And what about you, Alli? Who are you?
Hi, thank you for having me, Josephine. I'm so excited. I was just dancing to music. That's cool, that intro music.
Exactly.
I'm Alli. I am a brand and web designer and developer and also an online business strategist. So I live in an old farmhouse here. I work from my home out in the country, about 40 minutes west of Rochester in New York, Western New York in the US. And I've been working in the digital space for a long time, since 2009. So it's been a long time. And I'm running my Done For You branding and web agency, Do Well Design Studio. And then I also help entrepreneurs to build and grow their own business online, step by step, inside of some Done For You or Done With You programs and courses and things. So that's a little bit about me. I sure have a lot to say about why perfection doesn't work and how many mistakes I've made along the way.
Exactly, because that is the whole thing, right? We learn from all of these things. And I just sat before and tried to pull together a newsletter, because that is one of the things, what should I write about today? And I started, so my topic is how I failed in starting 2.5 businesses. And I think that is the thing. And perfectionism was a huge reason for it. We didn't even dare to ask people, because that was also another thing. I thought I had to have a business partner to actually launch my business. But I also know you also didn't have a business partner, Alli. You also kind of just jumped right out into the unknown. So what made you do it?
Yeah, well, now that you say that, I was like thinking my business is now on its second kind of refresh. So I wouldn't say that like my business has failed, but like I've failed forward. You hear people say this all the time. Like, what does that even mean? Because when I started out, I didn't know what I was doing. I do not have a business degree. No one taught me entrepreneurship. What I knew I wanted to do was work out of my house, and because I wanted to have a family, I wanted to have kids, and I didn't want to have to, go into a job. I wanted to work from home and be also able to raise them at the same time. And so I just started. I just gave myself a name that didn't work for my business. I didn't have a niche. I was like, I'll do anything, like under the design umbrella. Like, what do you need me to do? It was really, really vague, but I was like, I'm going to go for it and just get started. And so by doing that, it taught me how to kind of course correct, right? Like, oh, that's not working. Or, oh, I don't like doing that kind of work, or working with that type of person, or like doing that kind of job. Or it taught me what I did want to do and how to work by just getting into it,
And what you just said, it taught me who do I want to work with and what do I want to do. I think that is kind of like, it's such an important piece, because we start by thinking, or when I started my business, the one that I did start, not the ones that I failed starting, but the one I did start was, I thought I should help these other people who were in the same kind of type of role that I had been in, midlife somewhere, discovering that you are completely in the wrong career. And I wanted to help them to kind of wake up earlier, to take the steps earlier, until I realized that they are not ready and I don't have the patience to do that. So kind of get to know yourself, who you are as a business owner and what you really want to do and who you want to work with, right? And I think we all kind of like, what that has also taught me, because I worked together with a fantastic business manager, Paris is her name, and we set up contracts, and then we had our first client who was a little bit cumbersome, and that made us realize, okay, we need to change the contract. So we changed the contract. So those are kind of like the things that you learn from each and every relationship that you have, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Every single thing you do, you're learning from. And that's ultimately why perfection doesn't work, right? Because if you're sitting behind the scenes just perfecting everything, not putting it out there, not learning from it, not listening to the people you are connecting with and growing in that way, you don't know what works. And so really what you're doing is just remaining stuck. You're not moving forward because you're sitting there just trying to make things perfect. And I mean, I've had this experience. I'm sure you have, and I'm sure many people who are watching had the same experience before. Whereas then what happens is you finally put it out there and it's not right. And then you have to keep working on it. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, like I totally missed the mark. I went for the wrong audience, or I should have done it this way, or I should have, done it completely different. And then you go back again. And that's why you have to just get started, just keep going, put it out there, learn and grow from those mistakes. Because otherwise you're just going to remain stuck in kind of this cycle, right? I talk about this. I work with startup businesses a lot, and I talk about the startup business cycle, and that, you don't have customers or clients, and you don't have, you don't want to put anything out there in front of them yet because you're working on perfecting it. And then you don't have clients, right? And so you can't get started because you're just constantly in this cycle. So, it's not good.
So Christine asked a fantastic question. She said, is there a minimum level of preparation, or can we start and test? I say you need to start and test. I think for me, it's like, before you start and test, though, I would actually start with doing some kind of market research. Talk to people, listen to them. What is it that they want? What is it that they need? What is it that they say that they need? And then you have to test it, because before you have tested it, nothing is going to work, right? You don't know how to adjust it. So in my program, in the coaching program that I have, I talk to my clients the whole time, and I say, what is it that you want? What is it that you need? Where are you currently in your process? Because if I try to help them, it's like mirrored here, so it's a little bit strange. But anyways, if I try to teach them something and they are not yet there, or they were there 5 months ago, we're not communicating with each other. It's just going to fall flat, right? Either way. So I have to talk to them constantly to say, okay, so where are you now? What is the next thing that you need? And what is the next thing that you need? And my program has been up and running for over a year, actually, but it's still kind of like, it's just getting out there. Exactly. Fine tuning the whole time. It will never be perfect. And I listened to a podcast the other day, I think it was, I can't remember, Sunday or something. And I think she said she had her program for 4 years, and she had redone it and redone it and redone it. And that's the thing, right?
Yep, absolutely. I mean, you can always improve. So you said exactly like what I would say as well, is like, yes, you have to put in the time up front to do some research and listening. Absolutely. And, I highly recommend getting some people who you feel like would be your ideal clients on the phone and interviewing them. I have a whole YouTube video on this on my YouTube channel as well, if people want to check out, like, what do you even say on these calls, right? But you then transcribe the call so that you can look for commonalities of what people are saying, like their pain points are and their obstacles, their desires, all these things, and look at what connects and what's the thread going through all of these people. And you can use that in your messaging too, which is super, super awesome. Because you want to be able to connect with them in that way. But I feel like there was something else I was going to point out that you said. Just getting started. I can't remember now. Sorry.
If it was important, it will come back to you. I bet it will. But you said you said, actually, I have a YouTube video, and now we are streaming currently on LinkedIn. We're streaming to my Facebook group, and we are streaming actually to my YouTube channel too, with eight followers on it.
All start somewhere.
We all start somewhere, exactly. So if I don't know which channel I should start on, what would you say? Where do they start?
As far as content creation?
Exactly. As far to reach a wider audience, or to kind of get your message out there.
Yeah. So it depends on where your audience is. It's a combination, really, where your audience is. And you might not know that. That's kind of a hard thing to figure out until you start putting content out there, right? So that's, again, why you have to just get started. It's a combination, though, of where they are, and then also where you like to be and where your content fits best. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if I'm going to do a bunch of like on-screen tutorials, it makes sense that I have a space where I can use video. I mean, almost everywhere uses video now, but, podcast doesn't. Podcast is a listening platform. So, you have to think about the way you want to communicate with your audience, as well as like where they're showing up. And if you don't know, like, you can look there, you can Google the different platforms and what type of, what the audiences are for those different things. There's all kinds of like statistics on that each year, just to get you kind of started.
Yeah, and I know you have gained new clients through Instagram. I have had a hard time on kind of connecting with people on Instagram, and I now focus mostly on LinkedIn, because I think it's so much easier for me to connect. In the beginning, though, I was really afraid of being on LinkedIn, because that meant that my old network, my old kind of corporate network, the bankers, were there, right? Now I love to connect with my old network and bankers. I've received so much fantastic feedback from all of them. So that is kind of like I would also say start where you feel comfortable, because if I hadn't started at Instagram in the beginning, if I hadn't started to become, confident and comfortable in one platform, I might not have started with LinkedIn either. And then it's kind of just to adjust and try and test and get out there. Christine had another question, though, about the first contact. Do you think market research is a good way to first contact? Yes, I think so, because market research, if there are like different ways you can do market research, but one of them is to do a survey, for example. And two of my clients, when they did their first surveys, one of them got 280 replies, and the other one got even 700 replies to that survey. And exactly what you said, Ellie, it's not only about like what is it that they want or what is it that they need, but it's also about how they speak. So if it's an open survey, you even get the language that they're speaking and how they write it, how they say it, and you have amazing content for like a huge inventory of content. What do you want to say about market research?
Yeah, I agree with all that you said, and I do think it's a great place to get started, because that's ultimately where you're going to be able to start pinpointing how you're going to deliver your messaging and how you're going to connect with people, because they're going to connect best if they feel understood. And when you're throwing that copy that they're saying right back at them, they're like, oh my God, she gets it. She gets it. And like once they feel like they understand what you're saying, they start to trust you. And that's ultimately, that's what we're trying to do, is like kind of reach through the screen, get someone's attention, right? And have them be able to trust us, because we're not in person, we're online, and you have to be able to bridge the gap. And that's a solid way to get started down that path.
And I also think that often we tend to want to help someone who is a former version of ourselves, one way or the other, right? And we have kind of like forgotten a little bit what happened, kind of the whole evolution that we have done ourselves since we were in that prior position, meaning we have a new vocabulary, we're using different words, might use different abbreviations or slang, and if we do proper market research and we figure out how do they speak, or how does my ideal client speak, then it's even easier to connect with them. And exactly what Christine says, to have the language is really, really important. And that is so true.
It is. Yep, absolutely.
And then we have John here. Hi, John. So happy to have you here. Thanks for the content, the intent, and the encouragement. Yeah, that's what we're here for, to actually because that is also the thing, right? Alli and I, we have connected. We connected because we were in the same business mentoring program. And being an entrepreneur can be really, really, really lonely. But if you are in a program, when you get to connect with people like Alli and I have connected, we actually have regular accountability chats, you and I, where we talk about our goals and we chat to each other to really have someone that understands exactly what you're going through. And I think that is so important. It also helps with this whole thing about being perfect, because I know you are not perfect and I'm not perfect. Mm-hmm. So we just throw ourselves out there.
Yeah. And also, like you said, you hold me accountable a lot. But if I'm totally like stuck on something and don't realize I'm being stuck on something, you're like, okay, like make a decision and move on. By the next time we talk, have a decision made, right? And that's a big part of being able to push through that perfection is I set limits. I'm going to perfect this the best I can in this amount of time, because then I have to move forward. Because if you don't give yourself a time frame, you're not going to ever make it your goal to finish. It's just this ongoing thing. So I always try to make sure people keep that in mind. Like, okay, you're going to change your business name. Great. Brainstorm. Then set a deadline. You're going to make a decision. Move on. Like, you can always change it again, right? You can always keep making changes. Nothing is going to be the final thing. And that's something that I've had to learn. I think we've all had to learn, is like, because you change enough that you're like, oh, okay, now I have to change again. And that's fine. It can happen.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't tattooed it yet on our bodies. At least I haven't yet. My husband told me about a friend's daughter. She had tattooed something, and they are now redoing that tattoo, so it can like change it. So even then you can change it. And another thing too, because you have come as an expert teacher into my program, so my clients, they just love you. And meaning that some of my clients have actually also become your clients. And that is the coolest thing, right? We are now here also sharing our audiences, because don't be afraid of competition in any way, because there are so many people out there in the world. And if I can't help someone, then maybe you can help that person, and vice versa, right? So that is kind of also one thing to remember, to connect with people and ask people to connect with you. And I think that is also cannot be kind of or it's often underestimated, I think.
Completely. And it's also underestimated how good that can make you feel. I think I was doing that for a long time, where I was like, I'm not going to, share, right? Share like this could be my client or something, like I can't share them. But then, over time, I've started realizing that I can pass on other names or make other recommendations. And that's not going to take away from anything from me. Maybe that client wasn't the best fit for me, but I know who they would be a really good fit for, And since I've been doing that, it feels so good. It makes that other business person feel good. And the love comes back, right? And that's something I completely underestimated.
Unless you do as I did in the beginning, when I was a little bit afraid of taking like the big assignments, like, oh no, maybe you should connect to this person instead, or that person instead.
Plain small,
because I was because I was afraid of stepping up. But that is that is then counterproductive, right? So to really realize, okay, so is it because I'm afraid to step up? Is it because I don't dare to take on the challenge? Or is it because I think that this person would be better off with someone else, right? Yeah. So I think also in terms of what you have helped my clients with is, what you have helped my clients with has been also a little bit like supplementary, because I don't offer that service and you did, right? So I think that is also, and they are super happy. So Ella did actually the homepages of two of my clients, and they are both really happy with those with that result. Speaking of homepage, by the way, I think that is a topic we need to do. Do you need to have a homepage to start your business?
You do not have to have a homepage to start your business. Although I do think it's one of the first things you should do. Actually, I think having a space on the web is really important. For me, I don't know how you go about looking for businesses, but I do I usually learn about people on social media. It seems like I'm learning about them first, or finding them first, or asking for recommendations for people. And then I check them out on social media. Are they active? Or, I mean, sometimes I find a business, I'm like, well, they haven't posted anything for 2 years. Are they even a business anymore? Like, I don't know. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll check their website. They have to have a website, right? And so if you're up against someone else who does have a website and this company doesn't have a website, like that makes a big difference, right? However, does it have to be some massive full-blown website? No, it does not have to be. Just a simple like one pager, which is like ultimately what I do a lot of lately for startups, because they just don't need this massive website right when they're starting out. But I do want to build them in a way that they can like plan for their future growth. Hopefully they do have some really huge, incredible website needed at some point, but I don't think that's necessary right away.
Yeah, I do exactly the same thing. I scroll social media. I see someone, or I listen to a podcast, someone mentioning someone else on a podcast. What I might do then is to kind of search for that person's name in a podcast, and then I move over to their homepage and I see, okay, so what is it that they do? What do they offer? What do they have, etc. So I definitely do the same thing, and I have a homepage myself too, because I think it's important to have that. It's like an old school business card. It's like you have it or you don't. And also social media presence. And Christine actually asked a good question here. Could you replace a homepage by a company page on LinkedIn? The company page on LinkedIn, in my view, is a little... It's just so that I can have a nice logo on my on my own personal profile. I don't do anything with my company page on LinkedIn. I don't share it. I don't boost it. I don't post from it, because the reach on that LinkedIn business page is anyways much lower than what it is from my personal page. What do you think about that, Alli?
Yeah, I agree. On LinkedIn, I have that page just so I can say that's where I work.
Exactly.
But in general, a lot of people do ask the same question as like Facebook business page. Isn't that enough? And they will use that as a website. I see that all the time where I'm looking for someone's website and they just have a Facebook page, and that's okay. But what happens when that platform goes away or is down? It's not yours. You don't own it, right? And you want to be in control of the narrative that you're telling about your own company and owning it. So that's like your own little piece of the internet that you can own. But if you're building a site or planning to build one, like that's okay to do in the meantime, right? At least you have something. It's better than not having anything, but I don't think that's like the best solution.
And you need a Facebook business page anyways, if the day that you're going to start using ads and sharing that information. It's the same thing, right? It's people will Google you. They will Google you. They will check you out. They will see, okay, does she have a Facebook business page? If she has, how old are the posts? Do the links work? There's nothing worse in speaking about being perfectionist, but I'm like, if the links don't work, or they take you to something old, or it says error or whatever it might be, or it takes you to an old workshop page or whatever, that just doesn't send such a good kind of like vibe, I think.
Yeah, right. It's kind of a turn off right away, right?
Yeah, definitely is.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions, or is it something, Alli, that you think we should address that we haven't addressed yet?
I don't know. I guess you hear people talk about like making progress over perfection. And I think that's really what it comes down to, is just to be able to keep moving forward, because you don't want to be stuck, and really you're not going to. Okay. So I think that confidence really comes from clarity. The more clear that you are, the more that you can show up confidently, and you get that clarity by showing up. So it's like this circle, right? But you have to start putting yourself out there, even if things aren't perfect, so that you can be learning, like we're saying, and gathering that all of that information and knowledge, becoming clear, so that you become more confident in what you're doing. So just get started is my advice.
Exactly. You cannot
just get started. Do it.
Exactly. And if you don't know where to start, let's take LinkedIn as an example, or Instagram as an example. If you don't know where to start, if you don't dare to put yourself out there, if you don't know how to do it, start by liking other people's posts. Start by commenting on other people's posts. Start by kind of reviewing what is it that others are doing. Start by collecting kind of like information, like brainstorm for yourself. You open a new notes page or whatever it might be and collect ideas. What things do you like? And then, oh, I know one thing that really held me back when everyone says your content has to have value. It has to have value. And I was like, I don't have anything to share. I don't know how can I even start if I don't know what to share, right?
Yeah.
So that is kind of, it will come with value. And also what you might think is peanuts or didn't really kind of like, you just put it out there. It might be super valuable for someone else.
Yeah.
But you don't know before you've tested it.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. So I think that was actually it. So if we're trying to round up, what are your key takeaways, Alli, and how can people connect with you the best way afterwards?
Yeah, I think the key takeaway really is that I think you don't put yourself out there until you're perfect because you're lacking confidence in what you have. But again, like by getting that clarity, by moving forward, you're going to gain confidence. And I think that's a really important lesson. So yeah, I'm online. I'm everywhere online. You can find me on Facebook and you can find me on Instagram at Do Well Design Studio. I'm on YouTube and LinkedIn, Alli McAuley. That's where you can find me there. I have a Facebook group also, Build and Grow Your Business Like a Pro, which is really fun. So I'm happy to connect with you wherever you all are. Uh-oh, are you lost? Is my signal lost?
So speaking about being perfect or imperfect, my internet just broke out in the middle of the streaming. So I don't know if this kind of like ended right where. So anyways, I want to finish by saying you can connect with me on LinkedIn and Instagram, even though I'm not really active on Instagram. I've chosen to be on LinkedIn. You also have my YouTube channel. However, if you are an action taker and you feel that you want to kind of take the next step in your business, I would love to have a DM from you. With Alli McAuley, her Instagram is Do Well Brand and Design, I think, because as she said in the live stream, she has just changed the name of her business. I will add the link to her Instagram underneath this video so that you have that, and also connect with her on LinkedIn. So that was all from me. Thank you all so much, and hope to see you soon again.